I wasn't done yet, I need to finish this. It needs to have a definite beginning, middle, and then a very clear end. And so I'm working with some people now. I've got a little bit more help. So if you're out there listening and you've seen Knights of Cherokee County, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there should be a link to one of the episodes on your Facebook page, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, that's there. It's part one of the last episode that we did. So what happens at the end of the third episode is Chet is about as low as he can get. He's been beat up. He has no money. One fighter's already been killed, and then the guy he gets out of retirement to come fight for him is beaten senseless. So, I mean, it's just like it can't get any worse. And then he opens up, the last scene is him opening up his mailbox, and it's a letter from these lawyers, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Oh, rimshot. And and it says that his great-aunt Charmaine had passed away, and she leaves him $180,000, her house, and a butler. And the last thing he says is, hot damn, I'm getting a butler. So, like, in those first three episodes, and I really want to show a big contrast in a lot of things. And one of the areas is the world. The world that they live in is bigger. Like, in those first three episodes, there's only, like, 4 characters. It's a very small world. Well, now that he's gotten all this money and he's grown into this kind of criminal empire, the world expands. There's more characters. There's different scenarios. I want to really illustrate the way that he makes his illegal money. I mean, we're going to have there's going to be dog fighting. There's going to be, we're not going to show dog fighting, but we're going to make it clear that he's getting money from that. He's getting money from protection money from businesses. We got this great scene. It's an illegal gambling hall. We got like 7 or 8 tables full of 4 or 5 guys at each one, and they're all in there gambling. And I don't know. We got some pretty good locations. We're going to be out on a boat, a pontoon boat. I'm trying not to give away too much, but my point is the world is bigger now, and I'm excited about that. And I'm also a little anxious because the more stuff you have going on, the more stuff can go wrong. But
right.
If I can just get a little luck on my side, I think we'll be okay.
Well, I tell you, Knights to me was very, I don't even know how to even describe it, but I was impressed with it. I thought of it myself it was successful. Seeing as how it took place, what you said, 5 years ago?
07, yeah.
Okay, that's what's cool about this is it's an updated, 5 years later.
Yeah, I know.
Chet's been doing since. That's what's cool about the whole thing.
And that's one thing that we're, going to show is that there's been a noticeable amount of time gone by, and his world has changed, and he has new people around him. He actually has an entourage now, because before he was broke and didn't have a pot to pee in. So, I mean, who's going to follow that? Now he's got an entourage. He's got guys that work for him, guys that take people out for him, guys that protect him. You know what I mean? It's just, I want it to be just night and day. And not only that, just with the storyline, but the way it looks and the sound and the editing and what we can do now as opposed to what we were limited to before.
Right, and not to mention a very handsome guy that's going to be joining the cast, and I got.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Your host here is going to have a small part in the upcoming episode. You're going to be, I guess, a lieutenant, a supervisory person in the OSBI.
Figure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Me too. I'm jazzed about it. But speaking of authority, Oklahoma, Jeremy, you ready?
2, 3, 4. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. birthday, dear Sean's son.
Fred. Thomas Stock.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday
to you.
And many more.
Yeah.
I hope he's good and embarrassed about that.
I know I'm embarrassed.
It's been a great 20 years.
You know, there's a picture of me and your son, isn't there, when I was doing the stunt show at Frontier City?
He was 5 years old when that picture was taken.
God, was that long ago? Holy
yes,
crap.
It was.
I'm old.
I know. Yeah, we all are. And the funny part about it is when you mentioned Chet from Knights, I first met Chet by calling Craig DeGeorge, asking to do some promotional things for the UWE. What now?
It was Dick DeGeorge. Did you say Craig?
Oh, Dick. I'm sorry. Dick. And I was looking for some sponsors to give us some commercial time, whatnot, and I was talking to you. You threw the Chet line at me. I didn't even see what Chet was dressed like, and I'm like, I got to have that guy as my manager.
Yeah.
That was a fun little ride, too.
Yeah. I think, what did we do? I was your manager for like a few months, or how many? I don't know. I think it was like 2 or 3 events I showed up as your manager. And,
that was awesome.
It was interesting for me because Chet, before, had only been a guy that was just on, film, whether it was doing an outlet store commercial or doing an episode of Nights of Cherokee County, or just, me doing something. It was always in private, and there was a camera. Chet had never been a publicly performed. So it was it was interesting for me to see how people reacted to Chet in real life, in a presentational live action kind of thing, and they seem to like him. He's a big jerk. He's he's funny, but what he does and says and conducts himself and how he treats other people, he's not a very nice person. So it was really probably a good fit that Chet, was Mr. Ooh La La's manager, because I always got the impression that Mr. Ooh La La was one of the bad guys. Like,
he is.
In the old WWF, it was, the bad guys were, Roddy Piper and those guys, and Ric Flair was a bad guy, and, the good guys were Hulk Hogan and, Jimmy Superfly Snuka and all those guys.
Definitely.
So it was perfect. I was like, good. I would rather be the manager for a bad guy than a manager for a good guy, easily, because they're the best.
I don't
think
Chet could have pulled that one off.
Chet wouldn't have done it. Chet would have said, he's a good guy, I'm out.
Right. What got me was when you was in the ring and I was in gorilla position waiting to be introduced by you, I heard a couple of fans out in the audience with the Grandview accent. Once again, Greg, not talking about you. What's Chet Holleran doing in there? And I'm like, he's pretty well known around here. You didn't even introduce yourself.
Yeah, there's still people that come up to me and talk about that show, so it's cool, Yeah, I didn't hear them say that. That's cool. I was probably inside my own head just going, all right, keep it together, so.
And you did great. You did absolutely great, Jeremy.
Oh, yeah, I threatened to knock a 6-year-old kid's teeth out.
And they was already knocked out.
Well, they just hadn't come in yet. I don't know. But
no, he had 2 teeth. They just didn't hit. He couldn't eat corn.
Yeah. Oh, those grand.
Oh, no, wait, that was his dad. Never mind. That was his dad. Listen, to wrap things up, because we got a couple minutes left here. For those of you that want to see Jeremy Scott perform in his band Critical Mass on May 12th at the Town Branch in Tahlequah, they will be performing early. And if you
I think it's around 9 or 9:30 is when they want us to start.
Okay, usually start later than that, but Critical Mass, if you could tell us just a little bit about that before we got to wrap this up.
It's a band, it's a 3-piece that has a lot of special guests come in and play with us. I play drums, Chris Rosso is guitar player, and Richard Wood is the bass player. And right now, our special guest that we have coming in playing with us is Steve Kirkpatrick and Corey Martin, and this will be Corey's last show because he's moving to Houston. But, I kind of think Steve's pretty much, at this point, just going to be an official member of the band. I mean, it's looking that way. I'm not saying that's official, but, he plays guitar, and and sings. And I feel like a snot-nosed, spoiled little kid playing with these guys because they've been playing for decades. Steve's been playing since before I was even born. Chris and Richard are my age, and they've been playing since, well, Chris has been playing since he was 13, and, Richard's been playing for a long time, too, so I'm the new guy. I've only been playing drums 2 years, so a guy that I know here in town is kind of a blues legend around here, Pat Moss, told me once, he said, now, brother, if you want to sound like the best, I'm going to tell you, you need to play with the best. And there's a lot of wisdom in that, I mean, she's right. I've gotten better because I'm playing with guys that know what they're doing, So, yeah, we mainly try to do original music. There's a few covers here and there, and technically, usually, when we do covers, they're kind of obscure. They're not, we're not going to do Freebird. I'll put it to you that way.
Right. Well, once again, May 12th, Sound Branch, Tahlequah, Oklahoma. That's also
no cover.
That's also NSU's graduation night as well. It's going to be packed. So, folks, if you want to see this gentleman perform, get there early. Jeremy, I could spend 30 minutes talking about retro alone. I could spend another 30 talking about nights alone. So hopefully I'd like to have you on again where we could just focus on just one subject and keep talking because, like you said, you felt like retro, like it wasn't finished for you, and nights wasn't finished for you. I feel like the interviews of just lightly touching this wasn't enough for me. So I'd like to have you back sometime, if I may.
Oh, man, no problem. Maybe I could come back when maybe we're in the middle of filming the episode, or maybe when we're done, or whatever. You just get a hold of me, man, and I'm cool with coming on this show. I've been listening to this show since the first episode, so I'm a fan.
Well, Jeremy, I got to tell you this. This week with Jeremy Scott actually prompted me and gave me the confidence to do it. I thought I'd last maybe 2 episodes, and here I am on number 4. So I appreciate you, sir.
Well, speaking of this week with Jeremy Scott, I think I only did 9 episodes of that show before they canceled it and made me go back on Currentland. But
ladies and gentlemen, the guy introduced Kip Winger, or Kip Winger introduced him.
Oh yeah.
How cool is that?
That was really
Very
cool. That 13-year-old version of myself was just going crazy because I remember seeing Winger videos on MTV and all of that, and so I had to actually meet some of those guys, Rat and Anthrax. They were jerks, but I still remember listening to them as a kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say enough about this guy. Jeremy Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yo!
All right, you have a good one, brother. You take care.
You too, man.
All right, once again, Jeremy Scott, ladies and gentlemen. And in saying that, I'm going to leave off on a good note. Let's quote the great John Wayne, who said, "Life is hard, but it's harder when you're stupid." With that being said, we had a great show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I always have a good time talking with Jeremy. But I'll even have an even more fun next week as I introduce Elizabeth Allen, who's a music therapist here in Enid, Oklahoma. And until then, we'll see you same bat time, same bat channel. I had a blast. Class is now dismissed.